Now let's move on to our next example. Hold down the Shift hotkey and press the M button twice. This will navigate you to a green screen shot in the timeline. Now currently we have a green screen shot on layer 2 and there is a background on layer 1. In order to see this, we need to choose what level in the timeline we're looking at. This is all controlled by the little horizontal bar on the positioner. This is what we call the focus point. Currently, the focus point is looking at layer 3 and below. You can click and drag the focus point to layer 2, which we see the green screen, as well as dragging it to layer 1 where we see the background. You can also use the page up and page down hotkeys on the keyboard to move the focus point along the layers. Now let's go ahead and just position the focus point on layer 3 so that anything we see from layer 3 and below will then be seen by the timeline. In this case, we can see the green screen, but once we've keyed it through, we'll be able to see layers 3 composited on top of 2 composited on top of layer 1. To do the green screen, simply select the green screen shot on layer 2, and to the left of the timeline, we will now use a tool called Axis. Once again, click the Axis button and the blue LED will tell us that it has been enabled. And you can also turn off the A button because we do not want to animate it at this point in time. Now let's step into the animation editor, so press the E button and we're now taken into the Axis menu. Inside this Axis menu, this gives us control to transform the actual surface in 3D space. So this is a single layer 3D compositor built directly into the Smoke timeline. Now if you've been adjusting and playing with it, simply go to the bottom right of the interface and press the Reset All button once. It will then ask you to confirm, so we click the Confirm button and now it should be reset back to its default settings. Inside this compositor, we can go ahead and do things like repositioning as well as tracking. But the function we're interested here is called keying. The keyer function is located in the middle of the interface. If you click the keyer button, it will then launch us into the keyer. The keyer is full of high quality keying tools, and these all come part of the software. The tool we're going to focus on this time is called the master keyer. To enable this function, if we come to the left of the interface, you will see your column of keying tools. The master keyer is the top option, so if you click this button, it will put the master keyer into the main function. The first thing when it comes to keying with any software is to first define the key color that we'd like to remove from the image. The way that we do this is next to the master keyer button, you will see a gray color pot. Click on this once and we then get the eyedropper. Now before you actually key this, I'm going to show you a really good technique. We just put the eyedropper over one side of the green screen and we click down. Now I haven't released the pen, all I'm going to do is drag across the entire shot. By doing this and now releasing the pen, the master keyer will sample an average of the green screen, which in fact gives us a better key to start off with. Now the key that we have looks pretty good, but we really want to start refining it and making it look even better. In order to understand what we're actually seeing in terms of the key, we need to have a look at the alpha or matte channel that the keyer has created. To see this, we come to the bottom left of the screen. On the bottom left of the interface, you will see there's a blue button labeled Result. This is the View option and we're currently looking at the result view. If you click and hold down this pop-up, you will see that one of the other options there is the matte option, or it's mapped to the function F3 on the keyboard. When it is enabled, you will see that we've got a keyed image which is showing the alpha channel. Now I'm currently on frame 1, and on frame 1 you can see that we've got a lot of gray areas in the blacks which we need to get rid of, and you'll also notice that in the female talent there's some gray areas which need to be filled up with white. Now there are many techniques that you could use inside of Smoke to clean up a key, and this is one of the techniques I'm about to show you. This is called patching. To enable patching, we come down to the bottom left of the interface and you will see a title called Sampling. Sampling is currently set to matte mode, but if we click on the pop-up, we can change it to Patch 1. Now Patch 1 allows me to effectively key one key into another. The way this works is if I move my cursor over the black area, so let's clean the blacks up first in the image. If I was to hold down Control on the keyboard and drag a red box, you can see that it will start to remove the gray out of the black areas. So we're adding black into the key. You can do this as many times as you like until you've got a nice pure black color. Now we need to affect the white area as well, so come back to the sampling menu and change from patch 1 to patch 2. Same as before, hold down the Control key on the keyboard and drag little rectangular areas over the white portions of the female talent, and this will eventually return detail back into the key. From using the patching, you can now see how we've created a very good clean key, but we've still held on to a lot of fine edge detail which we don't want to lose. So let's have a look at our final result by going to the bottom left of the interface and switching from the matte view back to the result view. The one thing you'll also notice now is from a key we usually get a typical problem. You can see very clearly on the back of the talent that there's a very fine highlighted edge. This is common with most keys. Now I don't want to crush the actual matte itself. What we can do instead is we can go ahead and use a blending tool. The blending tool allows you to better blend the edges with the background. So if I come to the blend option in the interface, you will see there's a slider called Luma. If we click and drag the slider to the left, you can see how those bright edges will go slightly darker. We can then match them to the shading of the background that we have. Now our key looks pretty good, and it was done in a very short period of time. Let's exit the keyer, and in order to do this, you come to the left of the interface and press the return button. The one thing I'm sure you've noticed is because we've now keyed, you can see that we now have got this outline on the actual talent. This could have been the camera box when it was being filmed, or simply because it might be a different resolution and we just like to get rid of that black outline on all four sides of the image. A quick fix to this is simply to make the image slightly bigger. Come down to the middle of the interface where you see the scale slider. We have 3 values, but it doesn't matter which one you choose because they're all locked in proportion. Simply click and drag the value to the right and increase the scale by 5% to 105. You will now see how the black border now sits in the gray edge, and that will not be processed as part of the final frame. Once we're happy with the result that we have, we can now go to the left of the interface and press the exit button to return to the timeline. In the timeline one more time, we can press the Alt-L button, and this will then loop the shot in the timeline as well. Now most things inside the timeline will require processing at some point, but you don't have to process in order to see the result. You can see how we can play this back without rendering, and only when you're happy with the final, we can then go ahead and press the process button. This is located to the left of the interface, and you can see that it performs the operation very quickly. Once this is done, if you press Alt-L one more time, you can see we're now playing back our final rendered result. So we've been doing some examples inside the timeline, but the next thing we'd like to focus on is having a look at our main 3D compositor called Action. Let's finish off in the timeline by going to the bottom right of the interface and pressing the Home button. This will then zoom the timeline to the full window. Let's go back to the desktop. So on the left-hand side of the interface, where it says Source Area Layout, switch the mode from Standard back to Thumbnail View. We're now back to where we started off in the very beginning.